Okay, so let's talk about writing an informative essay. An informative essay, this is going to be the one that you are probably the most familiar with because it's probably the one that you've done the most. So when your teacher used to ask you to tell her what happened over your summer vacation, or when you wrote a biography on Martin Luther King Jr., when I was in 5th grade, I had to do a report on JFK Jr. Those kinds of things where you just tell someone about something, that's totally an informative essay. So this essay is going to be important because you're really not going to be able to escape this. This is one of the most common kinds of essay styles that will appear through the rest of the dental hygiene program. And if any of you choose to go on to a bachelor's degree or anything like that, this is going to be something that you are not going to escape. So let's start talking about this. So just some basics with this essay. Your goal behind this essay is just to educate the reader. So you're not persuading them, you're not trying to sell them anything necessarily. All you're doing is you're giving them all the facts about whatever your topic is. So I mentioned JFK, right? So I had to write that paper on JFK when I was younger. So to help me do that, I answered things called journalistic questions. So the who, what, when, where, why, and how of JFK. So I don't even remember now if it was Junior or not. No, I think it was the president. So I explained who he was, who his parents were, who he was married to, what he did, how he became president, what was important about his life, how he grew up, when he was born, when he died, when he took office, where he lived, where he grew up, where he died, how he died, theories as to why he was killed. So notice that I'm not really telling you that you have to love JFK or you have to pick a different president as your favorite. All I'm doing is giving you information about JFK. So the reason why I have the why and the how there underlined is because you can have a decent informative essay just by answering the who, what, when, and where. But you can really take your essay to the next level when you have the why and the how, like I was explaining. Why was he, theories behind why he was killed, how his presidency was influential, why his assassination is such a historical like landmark kind of a thing. So these are the things that you are not doing. You are not persuading them. So like I said in the previous slide, I'm not telling you that you need to love JFK and he has to be your favorite or whatever. I'm just giving you the information. As a writer, I'm just presenting the information to the reader, and that's it, so that I can help educate you about whatever my topic is. I'm not comparing anything to this. So if I was going to write an informative essay on Led Zeppelin, I am not going to compare Led Zeppelin and Black Sabbath. I'm just going to talk about Led Zeppelin, and that's it. You're not explaining how to do something. So the how to do something is the process essay. And I never thought I would have to say this, but you are also not being fictional. And this has landed in the PowerPoint because I had a student from the U who wrote an informative essay on Mickey Mouse. And this is really the essay that lends itself to doing a biography on a person more so than any other essay. So some of the things that I thought that might be in that essay based on the journalistic questions were, who first drew Mickey Mouse? Why was he created? How long has he been popular? Why was he first created? How has he influenced other cartoonists? Things like that. Well, I didn't get anything close to that. What I got was an informative essay about Mickey's life, his parents, his marriage to Minnie Mouse, his friendship with Donald and Daisy Duck, and the nephews, Huey, Dewey, and Louie, and it was completely made up. I had a really hard time grading that because he was being informative, but none of it was real. So you do need to, when you pick a topic, you need to pick a topic that is real for this paper. So one of the biggest issues with this paper is breaking free of the process essay. If you can put the words how to in front of it, then this is going to be a process essay, not an informative essay. So as far as the JFK example, you can take any topic whatsoever and you can do either a process or an informative or both. But, you know, I didn't explain the steps of how he became president. So notice that how to in front of it turns it process. So this might be one of your pitfalls and something just to be aware of as you go into the informative essay. Okay, so here are some suggestions so that you can have a better paper. We want to stay away from second person again. Now, it'll be easier for this essay for you to stay out of second person more so than the process essay was because you're not really giving instructions. So your number of sentences that are going to begin with a verb are going to drop considerably for this essay. So the only second person you probably would have to look out for would be actually using the word you. The other thing that I would suggest is choosing a topic that you're familiar with, because I am not requiring you to do any research for this. So if you played softball for 15 years, write your essay on softball. If you received your GED, instead of telling me the steps of how to get a GED, explain to me what a GED is, who gets them, why they're important, how someone goes about getting them, how old you need to be, things like that. But don't pick a topic that's going to open you up to fact errors. So a fact error is when you put a fact in your paper and it is incorrect. And sometimes these things happen accidentally because it's a typo. But whether you accidentally or you purposely insert a fact error into your paper, you are miseducating your reader, and that's a big deal. And you lose, in my life, in my world, you lose 10 points for every single fact error. So if you are really tired and you say that the Titanic sank in 1921 instead of 1912 because you just flip-flopped the numbers, that's a fact error. That's 10 points off. I had a student who was doing a paper on TMJ, which stands for temporomandibular joint disorder. And throughout her entire paper, she spelled temporomandibular incorrectly. So she lost 10 points every single time that word showed up. Because if I want to go research it further myself as a reader, I'm not going to be able to find anything because I spelled it wrong. So you have to be careful of that stuff. Just like with the other essays, you want to pretend your reader knows nothing about the topic, and you want to make smart decisions about jargon. You either want to decide if the concept is more important than the jargon, or you want to make sure that you define that jargon the first time that you use it. Some more tips. Be careful of topics that have a lot of detail. So I am horrible at history, and I've had numerous students do papers on something historical, either a war or something like that. This paper is going to be 3 pages long. Do you think you can explain to me all of what happened in World War II, World War I, Vietnam, or the Korean War, or whatever, pick a war, in 3 pages? I hope you're saying no, because you can't, unless it's going to be full of holes. Even one of the battles that took place within the war would have way too much detail to do within this page limit because you have to explain who all the players are. Another thing to be careful of is sports. Again, because there are so many things involved. And you can take topics one of 2 ways. So if I wanted to do an informative paper on football, I might take the kind of historical aspect of it, how football began in America, explaining the NFC and the AFC, explaining the teams that are in both divisions, explaining how many games there are, what months they play, things like that. A more confusing way to do the same topic would be if I was going to do the rules and regulations of football, or if I was going to do an informative essay on the positions of a football team. Now I got to explain the offense, the defense, the special teams, the coaches. There's just so much. Anytime that you have a topic that has a lot of quote-unquote players involved, it could really confuse the reader. So I had a student once who was excellent at chess, and I am horrible at chess. I know nothing about it, except that when I went on my honeymoon, they had those life-size chess pieces, and I kept grabbing them, and the one with the pointy tip, I kept trying to shove up my husband's butt. And the other vacationers were laughing at us. But that's the extent of my knowledge on chess, and that it's a checkered board. But I don't know why it's usually tan and not red. Anyway, so this student was amazing at chess and wanted to do his informative essay on chess. Fine, fabulous, wonderful. Tell me what chess is, who plays chess, stuff like that. No. He decides to explain the pieces and their movements. So he was talking about rooks and pawns and knights and bishops. Never described what these things looked like, so I don't know which one the horse is. I don't know which one the castle is. I don't know any of them. And he's talking about they move diagonally, they move backwards, they can move in an L shape. It was so confusing because there were so many things involved without thorough descriptions, because he was trying to stay within the page limits, that it was pretty rough. Aside from breaking free of the process essay, organizing this paper is probably your challenge. The reason that we started with the process essay is because even though it might not have felt like it, the essay pretty much organized itself for you. Those steps had to be done in a certain order. In this case, with an informative essay, you have all of this information in front of you, and it's up to you to decide how you want to organize it. So using an outline is really going to be important for you. And it doesn't have to be a technical one. It can be any kind of outline. And you want to write an outline before you start. You want to use it as a guide while you're writing, and the outline can change. You can rearrange things as you go. Then you also should use an outline at the end of your writing to make sure you got all of those points in there. The more detailed the outline, the better the paper, the more organized you are, and the clearer your thoughts feel. Another advantage of having an outline is that you can start and stop your paper at any point, because sometimes we have a really good thought and we don't want to stop writing, and we do, and we walk away and we come back and we don't remember where we wanted to pick up and what that idea was. So outlines can be really beneficial for that. So here are your essay requirements. So an informative essay, this is what you did in Journal 4. So you do need to pick a different topic than your journal. It's going to be 3 full pages, so to the bottom of the 3rd page. Double-spaced, 3rd person only, and you do not have to research anything for this at all. The font and the MLA format is exactly the same as you did for your process essay. Now, a lot of people usually ask me about the citation stuff, so let me address that now. We have not yet talked about plagiarism and citations and things like that. So if you do decide to look anything up, just to double check and make sure you don't have fact errors, that is totally okay. If you decide to use any information that came from another source, you need to first of all put it in your own words, and second of all, in the sentence somewhere, give me an, according to www.com, blah, 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 blah. That will be enough to cover us from plagiarism. You do not have to give me any kind of formal citations or formal works cited or anything like that. If you learned how to do citations in high school or whatever and you want to put them in there, even if you get them wrong, you will not be penalized for them. But these are some things that we can probably catch during some drafting. But if you hand me in a paper that doesn't have any citations, it's fine. If you give me one that is full of according tos, that's okay also. And if you're someone who tries the citations, that's okay too. You are not going to get points taken off for stuff that I didn't teach you yet. You are not allowed, however, to copy and paste something. So if I see a sentence in your paper and I type it into Google and the same exact sentence shows up somewhere on the internet, then we got a problem. That will lead to a 0 for plagiarism. So I always like to justify why you're doing something. So you are doing this because, as I said, this is going to be the most common essay style that you are going to encounter for the rest of the schooling. But more importantly, this is going to be really, really important for you with patient education. So we've talked about sending patients home with information can really ease their mind. So imagine a patient just gets diagnosed with diabetes or gingivitis or periodontal disease. So often patients are given a brochure that explains to them what gingivitis is, who gets it, how you get it, why someone gets it, how to prevent it, how to treat it, what the symptoms are, blah, 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 blah. That's an informative essay. Even though it's not in the shape of an essay and it's in the shape of a pamphlet, it's still informing the reader about something. So as far as topics are concerned, for this essay, you guys are picking any topic that you want. It can be health related. It can be dentally related. It doesn't have to be at all. You can do a musician. You can do a person. It doesn't matter. You are totally picking your topics for this one. So that's the end of the slideshow. I wanted to show you a technique for brainstorming that might be really, really helpful for you. So I'm just going to pull up a Word document. And this is something that we would normally do on the blackboard together, and this is something that we can still do together in class. And this is a really helpful activity to help you brainstorm. So when you first, and you might need someone else to help you do this, a parent, a friend, a boyfriend, a classmate, a girlfriend, whatever. But we talked about those journalistic questions, the who, what, when, where, why, and how. When you've decided on a topic, so let's say you're going to write a paper, an informative essay on tampons. It just popped into my head. So one way to brainstorm things you might talk about are by asking questions. What are tampons? How are they used? Who uses them? What age can you start using them? I know I'm not talking. So all I'm doing is asking questions about tampons. And if you happen to be a boy in the class reading this, first of all, I'm sorry if you're uncomfortable. Second of all, you of all people should be asking the most questions because you have never worn one, I hope. When I said what's the purpose of a tampon, tampons are also used in sports medicine. So who uses them? It could be men. So the idea behind this is you just ask questions and you brainstorm different questions and things like that. After that, for an outline, what you can do is you can reorganize these questions in the order in which you would want to answer them. And there's your outline. So what are tampons? That should always be your background paragraph, the what is it. So as far as organizing, chronological order can be really helpful. But our first paragraph is going to be our intro plus our thesis, just like our process essay was. Your second paragraph is always going to be your background. So this is where you define your topic, you describe it, you explain what it is to catch the reader up if they've never heard of this before, which is what you're assuming. So your third paragraph, this is where things get different. So no longer do we have ingredients to talk about or materials someone needs. Now we're on to the points. So let's say, for instance, we want to do what are tampons, who uses them, how are they used. I take that back. I want to do what are tampons, who created them, who uses them, how are they used, how long can you wear one, what is the purpose of a tampon should probably go with number one with the what are tampons. What age can you start using them? Should probably go with 3. What diseases, infections? So let's talk about the risks. So these are all going to be 6. We're still talking about risks, so we could put that there. And I don't really know if I even want to use that question or not, so we'll put that one last. So now all I'm going to do is restack these. So, oops, this is my background paragraph, so that means I'm going to do what are tampons, because these are listed as number 1 up at the top, and purpose of them. So then the next point that I wanted to make is who created them. So now that I'm doing this, I'm like, oh crap, I forgot to do when were they created and why were they created and where were they created? Were they in the United States? Were they not? So that takes care of numbers 1 and number 2. So I already did this one, so I'm going to go up to formatting, and I'm going to do this little trick thing. Nope, that's not what I want. See this ABC with the line through it? That means strike through. So what I can do is I can cross these things off that I've already used them, or I've already reorganized them at least. So now I'm on to step 3, which is who uses them. What age can girls wear them? So that was these 2. This is the weirdest topic I've ever done, I think. So you can see how I'm doing this and keeping track of myself. So the 5th one was how long can a tampon be worn? No, what do I do? I'm a step ahead of myself. How are they used? And you know what? You can even decide that you want to put how are they used underneath the who uses them. Because if we talk about boys using them, they would use them in sports medicine for a nose injury or something like that. So I can cross that one off. I used that one. How long? Oh, why am I retyping this? I could just copy and paste. How long can you wear one? Now for the 6th paragraph, we had a bunch of different information. So this was risks. So I can cross these off. And this is how I'm organizing my paper. I hope you're not too horrifically bored. Oh, I forgot to cross that one off. So the only thing now we have left is I don't really know if I want to keep this in my paper, but we'll put it at the end just in case I don't have enough room or if I haven't met my page limit yet. So my 7th paragraph would be why the construction of them and applicators, blah, blah, blah. Then I do my conclusion, and here is the outline for my paper. There's nothing scary with any Roman numerals or anything like that. And we went from brainstorming to stacking them and grouping them without it being too intimidating. So I hope that this example is something that helps. This is also something that we can definitely do in class together to help you out, time permitting. So that's how we're going to do an informative essay. I do strongly suggest, because this is hygiene and you are working on a deadline of the informative essay and the process essay being due so close together, please do not jump back and forth. Do not work on your process essay and then take a break and then jump over and do your informative essay, because you're going to get way too confused and one style will end up bleeding into the other. So you need to pick one essay, start it, and finish it, at least a first draft, before you go to the other paper style. So this way you don't mess yourself up. But again, I am always here for any questions that you have, for anything that you need. So make sure that you send me drafts, you ask me questions. You can send me your topic and your thesis statement to see if you're on the right track, and we will go from there.